Hello, in this video I'm going to take a look at how we can make changes to the Chocolatey documentation site directly through the GitHub user interface. So let's jump in. So here I am looking at the documentation site, the homepage of the documentation site. So let's imagine a scenario where we've identified that there is a spelling mistake on one of these headers, or there's something that's glaringly grammatically incorrect. This is the kind of change that wouldn't necessitate a full process where you would need to, or we would encourage you to create an issue on the website to first discuss the kind of changes that you want to make. It's the sort of change that can be made quickly and easily, can be merged in and shipped without too much ceremony going around it. So let's imagine that you've got that situation. So let's say that let's imagine that we've spelled chocolatey wrong here. And we saw that and we want to make a change to it. So we actually want to encourage those kind of changes. And that's what this edit this page button up here is. So if I click on that, what that's going to do is that's going to take me over to GitHub, ready to start making a change to that file. Now, what it's telling me straight away, so I'm signed into GitHub here as my alter ego that is GEP31. For those of you who know me, I'm GEP13 everywhere, but I'm signed into GitHub as GEP31 at the minute. So I don't have access rights to this particular repository. So what it's asking me is, do I want to fork this repository? And that's absolutely what I want to do. So I want to fork this repository. So that's essentially me taking a copy of the repository into my own GitHub profile. And at this point, I can start making changes to this file. So it's telling me that you're making changes to a project that you don't have write access to. So we'll create a fork. That's exactly what we want to do. So let's imagine that let's imagine that we've typed this wrong. We've spelt chocolatey wrong. So let's say instead that this needs to be what is Gary. Now this is obviously not a change that we would accept into the repository. I'm just showing you that this is how you can make a modification to the documentation site just as a quick change through the GitHub user interface. So I've made that change. I can preview that change locally here, so it'll show me what it's like. So we've gone from what is Gary, we've gone from what is chocolatey to what is Gary. So then what we can do is we can start to propose this change. So this is where I would encourage you, if you haven't created an issue, this is the opportunity to say what you're doing, why you think it's required. So if it is just a spelling mistake, we could say, for example, this is doc fixed spelling mistake. And then in here, we might say we've changed chocolatey to Gary. Now, this is obviously not what you want to do, so please don't submit a PR that has this text in it or this change in it. This is just an example of what you could do. So if you take the opportunity to write in exactly what you're doing, some information in the commit itself, the commit message itself, that change is much more likely to be merged in as opposed to just a drive-by PR with little or no information associated with it. But at this point, through the GitHub user interface, I can propose that change. And at this point, what it's going to do is it's going to tell me what it's going to do. So it's created a branch for me. So it created a branch called patch 1. And it's saying I'm going to take that patch 1 branch with the changes associated with it. And I'm going to send a pull request into the master branch on Chocolatey Doc. So that's exactly what I want to do. I can preview the changes here to see what that change would look like. And then at that point, I could click the create pull request button. Now, I'm obviously not going to do that because this is just an example, but if you click that button at that point, it will open up that pull request. There will be some continuous integration builds kicked off at that point in order to attempt to generate the site, make sure that it all works the way that we continue to expect it to. And then at that point, it would be ready for review by someone on the team. So that is the whistle-stop tour of making a change to the documentation through the GitHub user interface. Obviously, please don't just send a PR that changes chocolatey to Gary. That's not what this was intended for. But if you do spot a typing mistake or spelling mistake or a grammatical inconsistency or some small change that doesn't warrant a full-blown issue, then absolutely make the change, send the pull request, and we'll gladly accept that into the documentation site because we're committed to making the documentation as good as we can, and your help would be much appreciated in that endeavor. So thank you very much. I hope this has been useful.